Welcome back to the Crypto Factor and welcome back to Gareth Soloway. It's been a while, man. How are you? Gareth, we're excited to have you here. So much to talk about.
Oh yeah, excited to be back, and I'm doing well, thank you. I hope you're doing well as well.
I'm better and stronger every day, my man. Better and stronger every day. So we're going to be talking about Bitcoin. We're going to be talking about gold. We're going to be talking about stocks. We're going to be talking about oil. We're going to be talking about cryptocurrencies in general. But first of all, Gareth, gotta put it out there, man. You gotta put it out. Someone lost a bet, Gareth.
It's all good, man. It's all good. If it's that bet, I'm fine with that.
It was a good bet, man. And just to clarify, we did have a bet last year. I bet that the bottom was in, that we're going to go to 15 to 17K in the bottom. Gareth was going to 10, 12, but the bet was till the end of 2022. So it can still go down there, but it didn't. And we were both buying up the lows as we were going down. So it was a good trade. It was more conservative. But yeah, man, it was a fun bet, but I will eat that steak and I will put it on camera, my man.
Nice. Sounds good. Sounds good.
So what's going on, man? Let's look at the charts to see what's going on right now. We have a lot of news. We have a lot of things going on in the economy. We have the Fed meeting coming up in a couple of days. Gareth, enlighten us, my man.
Yeah, so this is a huge week for markets overall, right? Like you said, Fed meeting on Wednesday. Thursday, we have Apple, Google, and Amazon all reporting earnings after the bell. And then Friday, we have the jobs data. So, I mean, this is one of those crazy weeks where it's going to get wild. The Fed decision is, needless to say, the most important one. They're going to raise by 25 basis points. That's not in question. It's all about what the commentary is going forward.
Is it priced in? Do you think it's going to be a sell the news event? What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, it's tricky to know at this point because we still have another day and a half to go until we get that. We're selling off today, which is kind of a positive, actually. The more you sell off, the more likely the markets will snap back. So people essentially are taking profits right now. We've had a big run up in the equity markets, in the stock market, in crypto. And people are saying, wait, listen, I'm up X amount. Why don't I take some off the table? Because you have all these unforeseen possible negatives out there. For instance, Jerome Powell saying something that the market doesn't recognize. So I think the big question is watch what happens into Wednesday. If we rally back up, then I'd be bearish going into this.
What about with earnings and everything? What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the charts on some of these stocks, and again, I can bring up a couple of them here, but let me show my chart here. But Apple reports obviously earnings, and to me, one of the negatives here is that Apple's had such a tremendous run, right? I mean, you've gone from $124 all the way up to a high on Friday of 147. We're backing off just a little, and look at where we are. We're kind of right at this crux, this cross section of major resistance. So for me, I'm bearish going into Apple earnings. I think everyone assumes they're going to have this great quarter. It's going to be just normal. And honestly, between inflation, a slowing economy, issues in China, for me, I would expect them to maybe sell off. Maybe Apple stock sells off on earnings.
What are you looking for as support? 137-ish or lower?
Yeah, I would probably go towards something like this, where you take the same trend line here and stretch it up to this pivot low. So you're kind of looking at like 127, 128, somewhere in that vicinity. I don't think it'll drop that much on earnings. I mean, that would be a really horrendous miss if it did. But I do ultimately expect Apple to eventually trade down, probably in the $80 range before this bear market cycle is done.
Got you. So let's look at Bitcoin real quick. Since I'm wearing the orange shirt, we can go back to stocks in a second.
Nice.
So I'm looking at resistance to around 24, 25K. And if that breaks, I'm looking at about 30K. I do believe we're going to hit 30K before we pull back. I'm not saying right now. I'm just saying when once we get that 50% pullback, I think it's going to be on a higher number. But what are you looking at, Gareth?
Yeah, so what you do have, and you're correct, you have this kind of sideways. Now the one negative here is that we had this attempted breakout which occurred on a Sunday. Now, for everyone watching, never trust a crypto move that occurs on a weekend because you don't have volume there. You can see exactly what happened. Bitcoin had this nice run up, touched kind of 24,000. And then today markets are open, markets are selling, institutional volumes in there, whale volume, and it comes right back in. So I agree. I think your next stop is right here. You have this pivot low right here and this pivot high. So that's right around 25,000. So that would be, if we continue up, that would be your resistance point. I ultimately am still in the camp that the lows are not in on the crypto market. So I would be kind of in the camp of saying that at some point we will see a big rollover again.
Yeah, I believe so too. 30K being major resistance, being the last low I called when we left the 69,000 level. I called 30K as a low. That's going to be hard to break.
Yeah, I mean, between these pivot lows over here, all this here, and then all this sideways chop right here, all of that is just so much major resistance. That will be an epically big resistance level for Bitcoin.
Now, if we pass 30K and close above and make that support, would it be safe to say that you're changing your mind and that's when you're going to become bullish and saying that this market's changed and we have a bull run now?
Yeah, so for me, there are a couple of things that I'm looking at. I would be looking at this area right here. So this is kind of a major, remember, this was your pivot low of 2021 before the second move up. So that's going to be really a lot of resistance. You have this level that we broke down on. So if we got back above this and held above 40,000, then I think you have to say the next run is probably in place for 100,000. And I think 100,000 to me is your next spot. And one of the things I'm looking at here is this trend line right here, right? So wherever this trend line is when Bitcoin gets up there, that to me would be the next resistance of the cycle, right? Connecting these high pivots here.
Makes sense, Gareth. All right, so you're short-term bearish or mid-term bearish probably, yes?
Yeah, so just to go over kind of how I've positioned myself at this point is I still have a position long in Bitcoin, right? So the target on that is still 25,000 or so, this resistance level. I do have a position on Polkadot as well, DOT USD here. And again, same kind of thing. If it gets up into this range here or this area here, I'm going to unload that. Now, I do have short signals out there. One of them is Solana. Solana, I'm in from about $25.50 on the short side. That's in the money a little bit here. And there's just so many resistance levels on Solana right up here. Avalanche, I put out as a sell short yesterday. And again, we're in the money slightly here off of this resistance area here. And then also Ethereum. I actually think that Ethereum very likely topped out when it topped this pivot here. And again, we're short on Ethereum, slightly in the money as well.
Can you have a look at ApeCoin for me real quick? I just made a video about it and called it out as a potential gain. Just because of price action, it's just very nice price action for me anyway when I was seeing the rest of the markets, the rest of the cryptocurrencies. Tell me what you think.
Yeah, so ApeCoin, I mean, to me, it looks like it's kind of, so it looks like right over here. In fact, it looks like we can go from right over here and draw this trend line, right?
Yeah.
And look at where we are right now. So we're right into that level. So is it building a bull flag? That's the question, right? Is it you know, you don't want to see it pull back too much because it would negate the bull flag. Right now, there's a possibility of that. My only concern here is that there's been this reemergence of this kind of, you know, crazy maniacal kind of buy everything mentality, right? Yeah. If you look at charts like Bed Bath Beyond, right? Bed Bath Beyond, look at the run it's had. It went from $1 and change to $6. If you look at AMC, GameStop, Tesla, I mean, Tesla's had a huge run up until today's sell-off of 75%. So my worry is that when you look at something like an ApeCoin, are you seeing that kind of craze of everyone just rushing in, and then does it last, right? So, and this is one of the things that I was talking to my traders about today is that you can't look like the retail crowd wants to believe that this is 2021 again, and it's going to be everything just going up and up and up and up. But you have to remember things are different. You have a bear market. You have the Fed interest rates at 5%. The Fed is sucking liquidity. So you don't have the same makings. The government's not sending checks. Like in the US, they were sending checks out to us. So there's a lot of differences between now and then. So you can't expect the same result in something like a Tesla or an ApeCoin.
Exactly. Let me talking about Tesla. It's one of my positions in stocks. Maybe we can have a look at a few more. What do you other than Tesla? What else are you looking at, Gareth?
Yeah, so Tesla hit some resistance on Friday, which again, you know, it ran up so much it was due for a pullback. So that was kind of you know, what to be expected. Now, if it has one more run, the $200 level is going to be a big level right here, and these tops right here. A couple other things. I continue to be bullish on natural gas. I got bullish right around $3 on natural gas. It's a little bit below that now. Let me bring it up now here, but I continue to really like this chart. It's just so oversold. You have a mass exodus, right? So basically when we were trading north of $8 to $10 per cubic foot or whatever they measure a natural gas in, you basically had a scenario where every institution thought this was a no-brainer trade. Everyone thought, oh, Europe's going to be in so much trouble, everything like that. And now you're seeing the unwind of that. And that's why this is this oversold. But you are starting to come into some major support right down here, right? All of this consolidation, and you're basically right in that vicinity. So I think this is due for a technical bounce. It's not a long-term investment, but 20, 30% bounce in natural gas to me is a no-brainer.
Think it's going to fill that gap?
Yeah, I don't know about the gap. Would be amazing. I mean, if we rallied that much, that would be tremendous. I would even be happy for just a trade back here to around 360, this pivot low right here.
So when you look at stocks, when you look at Bitcoin, we'll talk about cryptocurrencies in a second, gold, oil, and so on. When do you think the market's going to start having when do you think there's going to be a trend change? Is it going to be this year? Is it going to be in 6 months? Is it going to be next year? What do you think?
Yeah, so the big question I have, right, is and this is what everyone's been asking, is this a new bullish move in the market? Is there a new bull market on the S&P 500? I personally don't think so. And then the reason why it's not proven yet, and remember, everything we do is chart related, is that so far you have the high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. We haven't made a higher high yet. So as far as I'm concerned, this is a beautiful bear market rally, but it hasn't taken out this pivot high here to tell us that it's anything other than that. And maybe it will on the Fed. We don't know. Maybe later this week it will. Or does it start to roll over? And I eventually think the S&P is coming down to this level down here, and eventually the long-term trend down here. And remember, markets work, and there's some sort of synergy. There's kind of like an equilibrium where when we're above trend for so long, and you can see that above trend, as long as the Fed was printing money, we were always above trend. It makes sense in the very least we have to come back to trend, right? And the trend is right here.
And what about the dollar? The dollar might even go up right now, right? I thought it was bottoming out at some point, which means gold might go down.
Yep. So I'm in exactly that camp, is that I think there's very little downside on the dollar left here in the near term. And I think we're due for a bounce in the dollar, which also, as we know, is a negative for risk assets, right? It's a negative for the stock market. It might be a negative for crypto as well. So it also gives that basis for why I'm starting to nibble on some shorts in the crypto market as well as the stock market.
Right. So what about gold, though? What's your gold narrative right now?
Yeah, so gold to me is due for a pullback. I mean, this was just a tremendous move to the upside. I am not short gold because I love it in the midterm, and maybe short term it's overdone, might pull back here or here, but I'll be buying on dips. So basically, if I'm lucky enough to get back to around 1800 or 18 and a quarter, I will be loading up again. I did take my profits on my swing gold just because it got so extended. But again, these are shorter term trades where I'll just buy on a pullback then.
Plus, you're buying your gold coins like I am.
Yeah, and I do have physical gold, right? I mean, physical gold I'm not selling in these pops. Obviously, that's a longer term. Yeah.
Okay, what about oil?
Take a look at oil here. See what we got there. Yeah, so oil's starting to come back down. And really what we can see here is that you got this little potential bearish pattern. I still am in the camp that we're going to come down to about $65 a barrel on oil, probably within the next few months. And it's not that far away now, about $13 away. So I do think that that's going to come down. I think the key catalyst here is we're going to see more and more weakness in the jobs data coming up. We'll see what Friday's obviously says. But I do think that, again, that's going to show that a overall slowdown in the global economy is going to hit the demand curve of oil, and that's going to bring it in.
I got you. So Gareth, let me ask you this. Let's go back to cryptocurrencies real quick. So me personally, I put out that this year is buy the dip year. It's accumulation phase for me. Now you might lose some, you might win some. But what's your advice to people buying cryptocurrency right now? What would you suggest to them?
Yeah, so the first thing I would say is I agree with you in that, I have Bitcoin slated to bottom this year. Now, again, is that going to be May or June or where not? I mean, we'll find out. Maybe it already bottomed already for all we know. But ultimately, I agree that it is a buy the dip year. It's finally at levels where anything, to be honest, below 20,000 looks interesting. And I think, again, the biggest thing I would say is don't chase it up here. You have limited upside to 25, maybe 30. Just look for pullback. So you don't want to FOMO in. FOMO is like the worst thing. Think about people that FOMO'd in above 60,000 back in 2021. They all got screwed. So think about it. Just buy it on dips, buy on pullbacks, find your technical levels. Like for me on Bitcoin, a few technical levels to watch would be this. This was the FTX high just before the collapse. We can clearly see that right here, it hit, pulled back, and then broke. So this will be support. Another big level for support would be right in here as well. You have this pivot high and these lows. So you have a few levels where if you're saying, okay, I want to buy, but I don't want to pay up here, look for here and here. And then if it does get all the way down here, you have double bottom.
I agree. And people that went down, they already took profits. I took profits yesterday, actually. It was just too scary. I was like, oh, it's not going up. And I was lucky. I actually called it correctly because I didn't want to. I hate selling Bitcoin, but like, oh, I need to take some profits.
Yeah, I totally understand it.
Right. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about cryptocurrencies. I wanted to talk about the XRP chart, and I wanted to talk to you about XRP in general. Got a couple of questions for you, Gareth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so XRP, I mean, just looking at the chart, right, we're stuck in this kind of wedge pattern where we haven't broken out yet. You can see we're hovering just underneath that. That's what you want to look for, right? On a technical basis, this needs to get above this yellow line and stay above. You can see we kind of closed above here and then right back below and then hammer, and dropping. So that to me is the spot. And then same thing on the bottom. You don't want to see it break through this line down here. That would be a big negative. Yeah.
Let me ask you something. What do you think? I don't know if you've looked into this at all or if you have an opinion on this, but what do you think of the XRP court, well, the Ripple court case? Do you think that's going to be concluded this year, or do you think it can actually take more time, more than expected by most?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I got to imagine that it's wrapped up this year. I mean, it's getting so ridiculous at this point. I don't know if the judge is waiting for, you know, more guidance from the regulators. I'm not really sure what the deal is here, but to be honest, it's getting a little ridiculous. I do think it gets wrapped up this year.
Do you think XRP will win or lose?
Oh man, I'm not sure, to be honest. The one thing I will say is that it's hard to imagine that the banks would sit by and allow XRP to kind of supplant their system that they have in place. To me, that's the biggest hurdle. It's not, I mean, who knows what the judge says? It's more a matter of, do the big boys want to give up that revenue stream that they have from transferring money?
Yeah, no, I agree. And even though they say there's 300 banks that have signed with XRP, yeah, there's 5,500 banks alone in Europe that haven't.
Right. That's a lot of money generated on a yearly basis.
If they do win or so, though, and things go well, where do you see XRP reaching on a technical but also a fundamental basis? I'm looking at about 47 if it breaks all-time highs. Just wanted to know what your opinion was.
Yeah, so I mean, if for some reason the judge does rule in the favor of XRP, you'll see an immediate massive reaction. And I do think that reaction could easily retest this $2 level up here. I mean, just that alone. I mean, now again, does it pull back off of that? Maybe, but you'll just have that immediate pop in it to the upside, and it could be huge.
Yeah, and depending on when the bull market is, where we are in the bull market, if we're towards the end before a hyper market, it could go higher than that if it breaks all-time highs. I can see it going 3 to 7. I don't buy into this $1,000, $10,000 narrative. I just don't.
Yeah. No, because I mean, think about the market cap on that.
It's impossible.
I mean, it's nuts. Yeah.
How much? Humor me.
I don't even know what the market cap would be at that point.
It would be more than the whole world, I think, at that point, right?
I mean, so. Definitely more than the GDP of the whole United States. That's for sure.
I don't know. Maybe the rest of the world too. I think it's ridiculous. $10,000.
Oh yeah, for sure. Then. Yeah, I mean, remember, it's, you know, you got the bulls and they're always going to sell their narrative and say, oh, this, you know, it's all hype or fear. And you know, that's the way the market works.
Yeah. So where can people find you? I know you have a course out there that you actually teach technical analysis. I'll be honest, man, I'm going to admit this. I know we made that bet and everything, but I verify my technical analysis against your videos many times to see if I'm missing something, if I'm being too biased. Tell people where they can actually learn technical analysis from you. I get a lot of these questions. Where can I learn TA?
Yeah, so there's a website I have called verifiedinvestingcrypto.com, and I do daily videos there with lots of TA. I put out trade signals. I talked about some of the shorts and the longs I have. Those are all shown in there. And then obviously there's one place where I teach all my methods. It's called verifiedinvestingeducation.com, and it's 20 hours of all my TA, everything that I've learned, all my secrets revealed, everything right there.
Right. Awesome, man. Gareth, thank you very much. Make sure you also join Gareth on YouTube and Twitter. The links are up here down in the description below. You'll find the rest. Gareth, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to next time.
Thank you so much, buddy. Take care.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.